Welcome to Imperfect in an Uncertain World. Resources to help you navigate your life with authenticity and purpose. Are you ready to be your best compassionate self? Let's talk about how to move from empathy to compassion. Have you ever wondered why sometimes it's easy for you to be compassionate and how at other times you get stuck somewhere along the path of compassion and you are unable to share any kind of compassion with anyone, even yourself? There was probably a disconnect between your empathy and your compassion. So today we're going to talk about how you can connect your empathy with your compassion. And that way is by fully engaging your compassion spiral. So let's set up the spiral first. The spiral begins in our heart where we feel what is called affective empathy. This is where you feel the emotions of another. And sometimes we are unaware of our affective empathy. And this is what stops us or is the barrier that gets in the way of us being compassionate. When we are aware, affective empathy spirals into our head. And once in our heads, we acknowledge that the other person is suffering. We seek to understand the roots of that suffering. And in those moments, we are experiencing what is called cognitive empathy. We not only feel the emotions of another, but we are also aware of those feelings. We seek to understand those feelings, and we make a conscious choice to act upon those feelings. So with cognitive empathy, we can ask ourselves, how can I help another person? We formulate a plan. This could be a spontaneous acknowledgement of the suffering and providing immediate help in the form of compassionate action, or we could create long-term strategies. Our response is called behavioral empathy, better known as compassionate action. So let's begin with empathy. Why does it hook us? Throughout the day, we are bombarded constantly by emotions. Some of those are our own emotions and how we're reacting and responding to situations in our life. Unacknowledged, our emotions cause our reactions to the world. But there's a whole bunch of other emotions that are out there, and those are the emotions of another person or other people. We may feel sad or anxious and not realize that they're not our emotions. We might be picking the emotions up of another person. That is, if you are doing that, you're what is called an empath. And unless we're mindful, we are unaware of those emotions and we don't know whose emotions are whose. So we might believe that they're ours when in fact they're another person. And that unawareness is what really leads to reactions. The turmoil increases and our energy is depleted. Being unaware creates and continues a cycle of giving our energy away. The more we are depleted, the less likely we are to be compassionate. Now, the flip side of that is when we're aware, affective empathy is recognized. But that means that instead of focusing on what happened in the past or what may happen in the future, we are in the moment focusing on what is occurring in the here and now. Only when we're in the moment can we separate our own feelings from those of another. And we also notice how we're being triggered by the feelings of another person. With this awareness, we separate our emotions from those of another. So in a sense, we may feel the suffering of another, but we do not take it on. We may engage in a contemplative practice to avoid taking on those feelings. So the contemplative practice may be like focusing on our breath to ensure that another's feelings don't deeply root into us. Through mindfulness, the emotions of another do not inform our reactions. Rather, we use the power of those emotions to move into the next phase of the spiral, and that is cognitive empathy. With this awareness of the emotions swirling around us, we move from our heart, the home of effective empathy, feeling the emotions of another, into our head. And once we're in our head, we seek to understand what we are feeling and acknowledge those feelings are not ours, but they're another's. And that's the important step in the spiral of compassion. We own what's ours, but we don't own what is another person's. So then we discover how to be compassionate. We formulate our compassionate actions. And our actions are behavioral empathy, again, better known as compassionate action. Our words, our actions, and even our thoughts become gestures of solidarity with those who are suffering. We don't fix, rather, we walk with the other as they learn their life lesson that is rooted in our empathy, that is rooted in their experience. And we become a more durable, authentic self. We help others to become a more durable, authentic self as well. So that's the spiral of compassion, from empathy in its many forms to compassionate action. When you find yourself stuck in emotions, so let's talk a little bit about that. If an emotion that you're having doesn't seem like yours, do a self-assessment. Ask yourself what's happening. Ask yourself if those emotions are really yours, or if you're just feeling the anxiety of another person or even the world. Then disengage from the emotions during contemplative practice. This may be, again, focused breathing, where you just focus on your breathing and start out with your breath where it is and let it level off and become deeper on its own. You might go for a walk, or you might even take a nap. Sometimes when nothing else will let go of those emotions that have caught me in their web, I will take a nap. So whatever you do when you're caught, practice self-compassion. So I want to thank you for watching this video. Like it, share it with your friends, but most importantly, practice moving from affective empathy into compassionate response. For more information, check out my website, www.intentandaction.com.